Welcome to the MetaGame with me, Oni Black Mage, here to share tips and suggestions towards optimization of marriage and children for the newest installment in the Fire Emblem franchise, Fire Emblem Fates. If you haven't seen the first part of this guide that covers class and skill inheritance basics, I would suggest watching that now, as this guide will be approaching marriage pairings from a stat growth rate and class perspective. So whether you're new or veteran to the series, let's cover some basics first. Growth rates. Children are rebalanced in general in Fates so as to not completely overshadow their parents like in Awakening. In fact, there are many units that stay more effective than children throughout the game given the constraints on classes now, and they have competitive or better growth rates. Growth rates are the percentage that determine how likely a unit is to gain a stat increase at level up, so the higher the better. After all, stat caps don't matter if you don't have the growth rates to reach them. There's individual growth rates and class growth rates with a total together to give a character's full growth rate. So for example, if a character has a natural strength growth rate of 40 and they are currently in a class that has a strength growth rate of 20, then their full strength growth rate is 60, meaning if they level up as that class, then they will have a 60% chance of gaining +1 to their strength stat. Going forward, I will be talking about growth rate pools, which is all of the ability growth rates of a character totaled up into one number. Now, keep in mind a single number doesn't tell a whole story. Characters lacking exceptional gains are generally more well-rounded or just dump magic or strength entirely, including the avatar. A character with a lower pool of growth rates doesn't necessarily mean it's weaker, as most characters are biased towards being martial or magical characters. What it does show is the larger the growth rate pool, the more likely the character will gain stats on a level up across multiple abilities and likely max out their stats. Don't forget, growth rates, stat caps, skills, a large amount of RNG luck, and your own tactics determine how effective and powerful any given unit actually is. For reference, I'm only noting the strong gains, that is 50 plus growth rate, and any exceptional growth rates above 60. I will also be approaching this from a Revelations perspective, so all potential parents and marriageable partners are considered here, in addition to exceptional growth rates they can pass on to their children. Not surprisingly, the Avatar and the Royal Children are all top tier when it comes to growth rates. The only thing unique here is Mozu, as I listed her growth rates with aptitude equipped and without. Children. Children will have their own growth rates, but their real growth rates will be the average of their own and whomever their dedicated parent married. So they generally start lower, with the opportunity to be curved up depending on the spouse. Some children have exceptional growth rates, so beware spouses that can curve the growth rate down. Now let's take a look at each child unit from the perspective of their growths and how well they match up with their classes, and see what potential parents they can have to complement their strengths. Keep in mind that again, there are no best combinations, and it's up to personal combat style. I'll be approaching this from a maximization standpoint, so I tend to have characters play their strengths and specialize in either martial, magic, or defensive roles. This is opposed to a well-rounded approach where I could pair characters with parents who have different strengths, so they will average out. I personally just prefer a team of specialists versus a group of average units. So I will be suggesting mothers and classes they pass down that line up more with the strengths the character already has so as to increase the likelihood of early stat maxing. Kana is well-rounded, despite starting off on the lower average side of growth points among the children. This is fine, as Kana gets the equally well-rounded nobility class, but also the ability to fit into any class the avatar chose as a talent. Since Kana is such a blank slate, any parent for the avatar is fine since it likely means an upward curve of growth points for Kana. Shigure has almost non-existing magic, so the Troubadour option is only there to make him a support unit and work with his personalized rally skill. Consider a physically minded father to work off his strong strength and skill. Xander or Silas are natural fits, especially passing along the Cavalier. Saizo or Kaze work if you also want to grant Ninja too and take advantage of his high skill. Then there's Ryoma for Samurai, or Arthur for Fighter as alternative offensive options. Dwyer may seem to have opposing choices for his classes, but he's a well-rounded character with good potential as frontline support or offense, so he really is a great butler. His low skill, speed, and average magic suggests avoiding those type of mothers, so I suggest Camilla and Baruka for Wyvern Knight and Oboro for Spearfighter. His high HP and good defenses work as the base for a decent tank as well, so consider Effie for the Knight class option. Sophie has great skill and speed to make a great mercenary, but a concerningly low HP, strength, and defense to be a frontline cavalier. She reminds me of the token green cavalier you got in older Fire Emblem games that focus on speed. Consider Camilla to bump up her offense and give Wyvern Knight, or Baruka to boost her defensively with the same class. Also consider Charlotte for Fighter and essentially turning into a glass cannon. Otherwise, Hinoko will improve her all around while giving her Sky Knight to really take advantage of her speed and skill. Likewise, Kagero can give her Ninja and a huge strength boost while complementing her high speed and skill. Speaking personally, I don't usually use apothecaries or merchants, despite their solid HP and strength gains, and since Ninja also offers Mechanist, I often consider Midori a ninja like her father. Like Kana, don't be fooled by the growth pool score. Midori has a structure to make any physical class work, making her flexible from others while staying competitively strong. Kagero is the natural choice, while also giving the Great Basara class through Diviner. Hana will actually boost her strength and speed while also giving a Samurai class, which works very well in Midori. Hinoka works also for giving Sky Knight and also allowing Midori's high skill and luck to work. Finally, Camilla for Wyvern Knight and Charlotte for Fighter work if you want to lean heavier on an offensive Midori. Now let's talk about children exclusive to the Birthright or Revelations paths. These kids have a lot less tank options to the physically heavy classes of Nohr. Incidentally, Shiro is the ideal heavy-hitting tank, while also making him an excellent spear fighter, but it's ironic because he doesn't have the speed and luck common to a more effective samurai, and he has a limited selection from others, half of which want to make him a mage. The real options are Azura for her high strength, skill, speed, and also Sky Knight diversity, Kagero for exceptional strength, speed, and ninja, and Camilla for an all-around solid physical boost, and the Wyvern Rider. If the Avatar or Kana could pass along the Knight class, Shiro would be among the best tanks in the game. Consider making Sophie his wife or Siegbert his best friend so he can access the Cavalier class, which he would also do very well in. Kuragi is also ironic because he's initially an archer, but has almost a perfect foundation to be any frontline fighter with his amazing HP, strength, and defense, and be a better samurai than Shiro. He's a lot like Shiro with the same selection from others, so the recommendations are the same, except also adding Hana as a complementary way for great strength and speed as well as a samurai class. Martial or magic, Asugi attacks everything well offensively, period. He even has a magic growth rate higher than most dedicated mages in the game, and he even starts out with ninja and samurai. Despite his many strengths, his only fault is the only Nohr ladies he can have as a mother are Baruka and Charlotte, which are fine since Baruka gives him a needed defensive boost and Wyvern Rider, and Charlotte makes him an amazing glass cannon with Fighter. Selkie's growths don't complement her initial class options except for eventually Basara. I suggest moving into the Mother's class ASAP, though nearly all of her class and Mother options leave her with dangerously low HP options. Consider Hana mainly for her strength and skill gains, but Selkie makes for a decent samurai. She can leverage her high evasion as a Sky Knight through Azura or Ninja with Kagero. Also, Charlotte helps the HP and strength situation, but Selkie's defense is already a bit low. He may have the lowest growth point spread among the children, but don't be fooled. He just doesn't bother with any magic or luck, making him a good, bulky physical fighter. He also starts with two classes that actually complement his natural strengths, making him surprisingly effective with little effort. You can round out his class options while still playing his growth strengths with Hinoka for Sky Knight, Oboro for Spear Fighter, or Selena for Mercenary. Overall, he's a well-rounded unit, best for well-rounded mothers. Mitama has amazing potential as a support character, being bulky and evasive enough to survive healing and buffing allies in the thick of things, but also has a great foundation to make any frontline fighting work. She fortunately gets Mechanist as another great support role, if not for Replicate alone, but she would also pair very well with other well-rounded physical mothers, like Hinoka for Sky Knight or Oboro for Spear Fighter. Consider also specializing in her strengths with Kagero for Ninja and Hana for Samurai. Mitama is easily one of the most versatile characters for support or offense. Kaldori is a no-work required unit. She's not only a very strong unit, she already starts with two classes that play her strengths very well. Consider other complementing stat mothers and classes, such as Hinoka with Spear Fighter, Kagero with Ninja, and Selena with Mercenary. Rajat is an offensive mage, no two ways about it, with no real reason to leave Diviner. With her mother, you can go the easy choice of Orochi for the better magic, skill, and also access to Mechanist class. Otherwise, consider Nyx with still decent magic but now access to the Dark Mage class for some variety and higher magic and speed caps. Now let's talk about children exclusive to the Conquest or Revelations paths. These kids have a lot less speed and skill class options to the attack and defensive heavy classes of Nohr. Siegbert is as well-rounded as they come, fitting very well into his provided classes. Consider an equally well-rounded mother to complement that, such as Hinoka for Sky Knight or Selena for Mercenary. You could also specialize him into an offensive role, taking advantage of his skill and speed as well, with either Charlotte or Baruka for Fighter, depending on if you want to raise his strength to the max with Charlotte or round off his defense with Baruka. Forrest is quite remarkable, as he has the highest HP, magic, and resistance for any default mage character in the entire game, even over his own father, and has good starting classes for his growths. That said, his speed and skill has taken a hit, so the best candidate is Sakura, not only for her boost to those as well as defense, but also granting Monk, which complements Forrest as well. Otherwise, her only other main choice among mages is Nyx, which would still provide a large boost to speed and offer a support option. Ignatius is a natural knight, but has such a strong array to succeed in any frontline role, especially since his high defenses means he's a much sturdier than average fighter. Camilla or Baruka for Wyvern Rider would be a good fit, but Ignatius can also work to leverage his high luck with Perry as a mother and gaining Cavalier. Consider also Selena, as he has the skill to make mercenary work as well. Valoria is one of the most reliable frontline fighters in the game, with among the best array for growths to make her stats amazing, even in physical classes less suited for her, like Sky Knight, Mercenary, Cavalier, or Samurai. It's such a shame her starting classes aren't as well matched, as Wolfskin doesn't have great skills, and she would have rather low luck for a fighter despite her amazing offense and great defense. Having Effie as a mother would make her the highest strength in the game as a fighter, but also make her one of the best tanks in the game too. Camilla or Baruka for Wyvern Rider would also complement her array, but the fact is Valoria is too good of a frontliner not to use in some way. Percy is an unusual one. Despite his terribly low HP and strength, they give him Wyvern Rider and Fighter to round him off. In addition, he would make a great Samurai or Oni Savage with these gains, but none of his mothers grant that. Instead, I suggest leveraging the fact that he has the highest luck in the game and the best defense among the children and make him a tank or a critical hit fiend. Effie would help his physical score and give him the knight job that he'd be great at. Also consider Azura or Baruka for Sky Knight to keep his luck high in a class that can really benefit from it. Just give him a killing weapon and watch the sparks fly. Here again, Ophelia is an unusual case as like her father. Her stats are like a weird fusion of Dark Mage and Samurai without a clear winner in either. Again, she would actually make a great Oni Savage or Shrine Maiden, but none of her mothers offer it. That said, she still makes a great mage or support character, so consider Elise or Felicia for Troubadour, or Orochi for Diviner. She would also make a good Sky Knight from Azura with her high luck and staff support. Soleil is yet another odd case, as she has the highest strength among all the children, and the lowest hit points among all the children, with a high resistance of all things. She really isn't suited to be a great mercenary or ninja without a lot of help, but fortunately both of those are great classes for skills anyway. She would make a great fighter, so consider Charlotte as a mother, especially with her large HP gains. Gaining Wyvern Rider through Baruka is an effective choice too for some variety and growth rates, though Soleil is frankly fine with her starting classes. Nina's growths match well with her starting classes and suggest she can be a solid support character. Consider Felicia for Troubadour for more support options and complementary stats, or Oboro for staying well-rounded but gaining some offensive options with Spearfighter. Lastly, she would make a fairly good Wyvern Rider too, so consider Baruka or Camilla as mothers. So I hope this all helped. Remember that skills are much easier to gain and they can turn any battle around despite stats. Also in the end, playing tactically and having fun are the most important things, so have fun your way. List your favorite pairings in the comments below and stay tuned for more videos. Until then, thanks for watching and I'll see you at the next battlefield.